So here's the thing. I'm not big on commenting or passing judgments on a situation unless I have all the facts, right? Because that's kind of like the internet is littered with people who do cursing or no cursing. I forget what are you doing.
You already cursed earlier, so we're pretty much the floodgates are open. So
Okay, good. The internet is like littered with people who do shit like that all the time, right? Like you'll get 1/3 of a story, and then everybody will post their opinions on it, and their opinions will be fact. Like for example, I love David Starr, the professional wrestler. Absolutely love him. For him to weigh in on the situation and be like, well, from what I've heard, you literally just formed an opinion of yours based on complete hearsay. And in the legal system, you can't testify on hearsay. Like it's to me, it's I, if everything is as transparent as it is and it looks, Ring of Honor is 100% in the wrong. However, Ring of Honor has yet to come out and even defend themselves. They have yet to give out a formal statement, and we are where we are right now. I've never heard this about Ring of Honor previous to the Joey Mercury situation. Like, have you heard? You've been following wrestling we've been following wrestling forever. Have you ever heard a negative thing about Ring of Honor previous to Joey Mercury?
the only thing I can remember in terms of stuff that happened somewhat recently,
Taylor Hendricks.
That's true. That was one thing. Was the one I was thinking of was the Bully Ray incident where the fan was heckling the Allure and I guess allegedly saying some inappropriate things, and then Bully Ray I guess took some action to either sit this guy down or try to calm him down or whatever it was to kind of get him to stop doing what he was doing. That I think got a little negative publicity because depending on the version again of that people would believe. Some of it was kind of Bully Ray coming off like a jerk, Ring of Honor maybe not handling the situation in the best way. Then you heard other stuff. I think it was actually from Mercury himself that said like Bully Ray had to do that because there was nobody from ROH staff or security that was there to take care of the situation. So that's the only thing I could think of in the last year or two that was pretty bad in terms of publicity for Ring of Honor.
That's fair. I don't know Ring of Honor to be like for years. Like how many years have you heard horror stories about Impact Wrestling and how nobody's getting paid, or even ECW towards the end when Paul Heyman was bouncing checks and he was out filming Rollerball and he wasn't paying the guys that were doing the job. Like that's not something you heard about Ring of Honor. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm willing to give Ring of Honor the benefit of the doubt. But if you want, I'm not calling anybody's integrity into question. But if you look at the track records of the people there, BJ Whitmer, one of the guys that was he was vocal in the situation. I think he's married to Kelly Klein or they're dating. I'm not sure, whatever it might be. BJ Whitmer's no longer with the company, right? Mm-hmm. Joey Mercury hasn't exactly had the cleanest breaks with other companies, or there's been some problems in his career, personal problems that are very well documented too. So, and as far as Kelly Klein, I don't know what she's like to deal with. I don't know if there was anything going on there, but it's funny because when you look at the people in Ring of Honor, like everybody there is tenured for a long time. The Briscoe brothers have been there since the beginning. Jay Lethal's been there for 6 years, 7 years. Matt Taven's been there, 7 years. The new people that just came in and signed, they just signed Roosh last year. They just signed Bandito. These guys, Hot Sauce, Haskins. There's something I feel like that there are pieces of this puzzle that are missing, And is this something where Kelly Klein was using this as a power play for, to maybe not holding them hostage because she's the champion, but was this like a situation where she's like, I'm the champion, I deserve more money, I'm going to use this as a negotiation tactic? I don't know. We don't know everything that's going on, but if it is as clear as day as everything sees right now, Ring of Honor needs to regroup because I feel like if they can't get this corrected and soon, the numbers in Ring of Honor, house shows, not house shows, but the shows are down, the gates are down, viewership is down. There's like 200, 300 people in not MSG, in Hammerstein Ballroom. It's a bad time for Ring of Honor, and it's unfortunate because you and I commented on it. We were watching NXT the other night. Look at the stars. Just look at the stars you have in NXT alone. You have Kyle O'Reilly. You have Bobby Fish. You have Adam Cole. You have Keith Lee. You have Donovan Dijak. You have Tommaso Ciampa. 6 of your main stars on NXT, Joe, I'm sure I'm forgetting, and many of them came from Ring of Honor. You look at your main card. You have Sami Zayn. You have Kevin Owens. You have Seth Rollins. You have Daniel Bryan. I don't even know who else I'm missing, but that's the tradition that Ring of Honor had of just legitimate workers, legitimate professional wrestlers. And Ring of Honor was ahead of its time in providing a professional wrestling outlet for these guys. Now, you don't have to work in Ring of Honor to get that experience. Now you could work in Evolve. You could work in Beyond Wrestling. You could work at PWG and things like that kind of took after the Ring of Honor mindset of professional wrestling first. So it's so sad as a fan of the company to see where they are now. I feel like when WWE poached the entire Roderick Strong, the entire Undisputed Era, and then when the Young Bucks and Cody left to form AEW, Ring of Honor was left in the dust. And the text messages that I had sent you, or screen caps of text messages, I'm not gonna. I guess maybe Joey Mercury posted them, but it was conversations between this guy Greg and somebody else with Flip Gordon begging them to put the title on Marty Scurll. And Flip Gordon wondering why they're running these huge 1,200, 1,500, 2,000 seat arenas when they can only draw 300 or 400 people. So if you have, and then Greg coming back at Flip and saying, Flip, instead of saying, why are we running these houses, you should be asking yourself, why aren't we filling these houses? Like that kind of, unrest dude, it sounds like 2014 Impact Wrestling, right? This sounds like when Impact Wrestling was circling the drain and they were bringing in like Del Rio for a shot here, and what's his name, Austin Aries was putting his crotch in Christy Hemi's face. Like it was the inmates running the asylum. People weren't getting paid. The houses were down. The shows weren't good. And I mean, listen, kudos to Impact Wrestling because they were able to turn it around. I hope Ring of Honor is able to do the same thing. But as of right now, man, it's not looking good.
No, I mean, I don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time talking about the salaries and things of that nature and money and whatever, but the one thing I guess that's just a little confusing, and it's been confusing to me about Ring of Honor for a little while, but especially now that that Newsweek article highlighted the salaries, at least of what Kelly Klein was making, which is $20,000 a year. She asked for a $4,000 raise to $24,000 annually, and it sounded like ROH/Sinclair would not do it. Meanwhile, Sinclair Broadcasting just purchased all the regional sports networks of Fox. So that's another outlet for them to put Ring of Honor on TV, but they won't spend $4,000 on Kelly Klein. So I don't know if they really valued her, and I want to think that they did, at least from a booking perspective, because she's a 3-time Women of Honor champion. The division's been built around her, at least for the last year. And they wouldn't spend that money on her.
I don't mean to cut you off. Is Kelly Klein a draw?
No, I don't think she's a draw. I mean, is anybody really a draw? I mean, who anymore? I don't know. I don't know who in Ring of Honor would be draws right now that, like, you would say a legitimate draw that would sell out a building, or potentially be a reason to sell out a building. So.
Yeah, I got nothing.
For Ring of Honor, I can't say, right? I mean,
actually, Roosh is probably the closest they have.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I think when the Young Bucks were there, like, you could legitimately say that they were guys that were selling tickets, right? Like, people were going to shows to see the Young Bucks wrestle on Ring of Honor cards. And to your point earlier, when they left, along with Cody and some other guys to go form AEW, I think a lot of that drawing power left. And I like Marty Scurll a lot, and I like the Briscoes a lot, but those are probably the guys, and Jay Lethal, right? Those are probably the guys I would say, when I go to Ring of Honor shows, those are the guys I'm probably buying tickets to go see, legitimately. but I don't know that they're such major draws that you can say that they would sell out a building. And I think that's in the proof in that is, like you said, when we were at Hammerstein the last time for an ROH show, it didn't sell out Hammerstein. And that's probably the first time in a while that they hadn't done that. So they were in a bad spot. And now this story coming out and some more stuff leaking out is only going to hurt them more. So they need to do something to turn things around and get people, some more positive, some more positive energy going with their company right now, because it's not a good situation.
And sometimes when there is negative press, in order to turn things around, you have to make some quick decisions. Our friends over at the National Wrestling Alliance ran into some serious negativity last week as Jim Cornette. I don't want to go into the quote that he said. We're not going to go there. It's funny. I'm not going to. It was. I can't even think about the quote offhand. But 2 weeks before that, and you can attest to this, I texted you and I was like, "Listen, I'm just watching NWA. Do you think it's bad that Jim Cornette said wrestler X Pearl Harbored wrestler Y?" And he said it twice. And when I watch like Survivor Series 87 or something like that, Gorilla Monsoon says it. That's 32 years ago. It's a different time. When you hear Jim Cornette say something like that in 2019, part of me is like, I don't think that's okay to do now. And I said, I feel like it's just a matter of time before he says something. Well, Joe, it was 14 days was the amount of time before he said something that could literally got himself fired or released, whatever he said. So Jim Cornette makes a reference to Ethiopians, fried chicken, yada, yada, whatever he says. And immediately after he says it, the internet blows up, right? Like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, like it is like wildfire. Like this is everywhere. There are screen caps of it. We were talking about it in our group chat. When you first heard it, you and I, how can I want to be as politically correct as possible.
Oh God.
No, this isn't going to be bad.
Oh.
You and I are a little bit older than the offended generation. Is that fair?
I guess I don't know.
We don't
specifically what folks were, or where all that. I saw one guy screen cap basically say he was not going to watch NWA Power anymore, and then the clip I think was in there, and then I guess it kind of grew from there.
Did it offend you?
It was definitely something he shouldn't have said, and I know that he. Again, everyone who I don't know how people find all this stuff, but they found a clip I think from like an old episode of Raw or something where he said the same thing, but I guess that was like 15, 20 years, 5 years ago, whatever it was. So I guess it's not the first time that he said it, but yeah, it's not something you should say at all, on any program. And you would think that. I know he's a guy that's been around a long time, and he's been in the business a long time, but times change, and people change, and, the business changes, right? So you have to know better than to say anything that could potentially even somewhat be perceived as offensive to any people of whatever culture it is, religion, race, whatever it might be, gender. So you can't take risks like that and say something like that. And I guess the second part of it that's also bad is that it's a taped show, and it got through whatever editing and stuff that the NWA does to produce their show and put it up on YouTube every week, and it still made it to air before it didn't get edited out until like you said, the internet blew up. They took it down for a period of time. I think they muted out or removed the offensive remark that Cornette made and then put the show back up. I'm
going to be honest, and a lot of people may not like this. I don't get offended very easily about things. You know, like